Ready Check Radio.
Stand by as we get ready to serve up all your news this week in the world of gaming. Welcome to Gaming Gumbo. Oh yes, the epic music is playing. That means it's Saturday, 7 p.m. here on Ready Check Radio, bringing you Gaming Gumbo, your weekly gaming wrap-up podcast. I'm your host, Mike Byrne. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're watching on ReadyCheckRadio.com or on our YouTube channel or listening to the audio version on Spotify, consider stopping over to the website. That's Ready Check Radio, RAIDEO.com. Give us a follow on all the socials in the upper right of the homepage, and hop on by to twitch.tv and catch us live. Shows every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. 3 different shows for all kinds of different stuff in gaming, including World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, and then this is our general gaming show, as well as all the lovely volunteers I can't thank enough for streaming and hosting these shows. Some of them joining me on this one. So let's introduce them. Mr. Jason Winter, how are you, sir?
I guess today is bring your pet to the live stream day, but I don't have a pet. The closest I have is like this creeper. Like
that is creepy.
Why is it bring your pet to the live stream day? Like
I can just tell by the other image here, the other person on my screen.
Ah, yes, that would be our resident artist, Yad, sitting there with the kitty cat again.
Yes,
Which cat is this?
This is Dirk. Dirk likes to sit around here for a while. He's nice and quiet. He doesn't yell that much.
Does he explode?
No.
He
also doesn't pee in strange places in the house that I have to find.
Does he explode?
Can he do this? Can he do this?
No, he cannot. No, his head stays right where it is.
Does he explode? If he doesn't explode, your pet sucks. Well, gentlemen, we've had a kind of slower week in the gaming world. There's some news. We'll go through it, of course, but a little bit slower. We're hitting the end of March. Kind of getting into the doldrums, right? From March till about June, July-ish. We got a couple big releases coming up, right? Outriders we've talked about on Relic Grind on Thursdays and a couple other ones. But we're heading into that pre-E3 phase of the gaming year.
Do you remember last year, like at the E3 before that, when every game was announced from March or April?
Yeah.
We had like 10 big games supposed to come out.
And then everything was delayed out of that window.
Pretty much. Yeah. Cyberpunk was supposed to be out in April, I think.
Yeah, everything got delayed out of that window. So let's start with some maybe not direct game news, but the World Video Game Hall of Fame, hosted by the Strong, the National Museum of Play, did release its 2021 World Video Game Hall of Fame finalists. Now, there are 12 finalists, and kind of like, you know, the Pro Football Hall of Fames and all of that stuff, Jason, this is, you know, you might have one get enough votes to get in. You might have 3 that get enough votes to get in. So we don't know how many will make it yet. They are scored. The nominees that are judged in 4 different categories. Icon status, is the game widely recognized and remembered? Longevity, is the game more than a passing fad and has enjoyed popularity over a long period of time? Geographical reach, does the game meet the above criteria across international boundaries? So, you know, a Japan-only JRPG, going to have a hard time getting in. And influence, the game has exerted a significant influence on the design and development of other games, on other forms of entertainment, or on popular culture and society in general. To kind of give you an idea of the types of games that that have been in, or are in, I should say, the Video Game Hall of Fame, because I have a feeling that some people might not even know this was a thing.
I didn't really notice.
Last year's winners were Bejeweled, Centipede, King's Quest, and Minecraft. So to give you an idea of the type of panache we're looking for here, Jason. So I'm going to go through the nominees here, and I want you to tell me, do you agree that they should be nominated, and then do you think they should get in, even though Discord hates both of your cameras right now? Number one, Animal Crossing. Now we're talking about the debut 2001 Animal Crossing GameCube title. They are nominee number one. So Jason, should it be nominated and should it get in?
I feel like it's nominated just because New Horizons was such a big deal last year.
Really?
I feel like if that hadn't happened, Animal Crossing wouldn't be as much on people's radar as it is now. So I'm sort of the opinion that it's not that big of it. It's big. It's a pretty big thing, but I just don't feel like it quite makes the grade yet.
Well, interesting you say that because the Strong does do a little write-up, like on a little paragraph for each of these. And one of the things they do mention in that write-up is the game's latest installment for the Nintendo Switch proved a huge hit during the pandemic isolation of 2020, breaking the record for the most digital downloads of a console game in a single month at 31 million units worldwide. That is a lot of freaking units, by the way. That is a lot.
But that is the question: is this for Animal Crossing the series or that
Right.
particular Animal Crossing game?
Right. I mean, it's a fair point.
For the series, that
fair
shouldn't
point.
matter. So
I definitely
game,
think it
rather.
should be nominated. I don't think it's going to win this time. I think it's like a second ballot type deal, a little further down the road. Animal Crossing, I think, will eventually end up there, but I don't think it gets in on first ballot here. What about you, Yad?
I think if it's the series, it should be there, mostly because of what it's done for everybody during the pandemic, because it did connect a lot of people, mostly the new game, of course. But like Jason said, without the new game and without the pandemic going on and how connected it made everybody feel, would the original game have any notoriety, this much notoriety? I'm not sure. That's a little,
That's fair. That's fair.
it's a little rough there.
So we all agree, fine with the nomination, probably not going to get in.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Next one up, Call of Duty. I'll go first. Yeah, I'm honestly, if I'm being really honest, I'm surprised it's not there already. Whether you like the series or not, personally, it is absolutely hard, almost impossible to argue its impact on not only gaming, or not only first-person shooting gaming, but also multiplayer gaming and gaming in general. Worldwide, it has the appeal. Like on the criteria, whether you like COD or not, it's kind of like 9s and 10s across all of the criteria. I just don't see a way Call of Duty doesn't win and be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Personal opinions on the series aside, Jason.
Yeah, I agree with you pretty much on every level. Although, and I'm seeing another one later on. We're gonna have to. It's gonna be tough to decide whether they're truly trying to induct an individual game or a whole series. If it's a series, then yeah, I would absolutely definitely put Call of Duty in. The first game, I don't know. I wasn't like playing that stuff back then, but it probably does belong on the overall strength.
Yad?
Yeah, I think definitely if you're talking the entirety of the Call of Duty franchise, definitely in there.
I don't think you have to take it like that. I think you have to take it like, hey, this is the original game, and that game, even just looking at the original Call of Duty by itself, in a vacuum, you still have to go, that's 9s and 10s across the criteria spectrum.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, the original Call of Duty, and it did start an entire trend of gaming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say that one belongs in there definitely.
Next up, Farmville, Yad. What do you think? And we're talking about Flash Gaming, Facebook, Zynga, Farmville.
Yeah, I remember Farmville. I don't know. I mean, nostalgia factor, it's pretty up there, especially since it's Farmville. I don't know if it belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Maybe an honorable mention, but not Hall of Fame.
Yeah, this is one that it's like Call of Duty, right? If you don't like Call of Duty, you can at least appreciate what it's done and say, yeah, you don't have to like Peyton Manning to understand that Peyton Manning belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Right. So when I see them nominate Farmville, I'm kind of like, I see why you're nominating it, but fuck me if that wins and gets in. I do not want that in there.
Honorable mention.
No,
sure.
There's no honorable mention.
Yeah, you're either these are the 12 Video Game Hall of Fame nominees for 2021. You either get in or you don't. I hope Farmville does not. Only not because sure, it was huge, Jason, but it was also derivative of like 3 other big things that came before it. They just moved it to a farm setting. So
Yeah,
I
but-
don't think it was I don't think it was particularly the one that innovated or exploded. Yes, it got big, but there were other big things that it was a derivative of.
It exploded beyond. It's like nominating World of Warcraft, which it wasn't the first MMO, but it was the huge one that made the huge impact, much more than like EverQuest or something before it. So on that level, I could see it, but on the other hand, I'm thinking, don't get in there.
But did it change the face of that genre of gaming?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
because there were
because
about 80,000 more games after, just like it.
Zynga became huge.
Yeah, yeah, it did. But
Oh my god.
I don't want it.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't get in. We'll see. That's like give it 4th or 5th ballot on a year where there's just like no other good nominees, right? It's like FIFA International Soccer. Now, it was not the first. This is from the Strong. Not the first sports simulation video game, nor even the first one about soccer, but it is the most popular sports game franchise of all time, with sales continually bolstered by annual releases from EA. First launched in '93, the game garnered worldwide success and launched a franchise that has sold more than 325 million games by 2021. Jason, I have a feeling this is the one you were leaning to a little bit when you talked earlier about, are we talking about like the individual Sega Genesis FIFA soccer game, or are we talking about FIFA as a franchise?
Yeah, because that's all they talk about in there. They say most popular sport franchise, annual thing, sold more than 325 million. It's like they're not talking about like the one that came out in 1993. So if that's the criteria, then no, it doesn't go. But if you're talking about the FIFA series, then yeah, it should. If only because it's made EA $80 billion from their stupid Ultimate Team crap.
Here's my take on this, Yad. I feel like it's almost like if you're a sports game, you really shouldn't be in the like they're so run of the mill. Like, oh, okay, hey, it's digital football.
Okay, no.
Now, I can understand maybe putting like the original Madden in there because that was a huge leap and bounds above previous versions of football. It, to your point, Yad, earlier, it iterated the playing of football, but yeah, FIFA. Okay, now that you put Madden in, well, FIFA just does for soccer what Madden did. And, the MLB games, the show and stuff, they do for baseball what Madden did. So in the respect of a Madden franchise getting in, I think I'm on board because it moved things. But as far as just putting, hey,
how did it?
All the different sports have a rep in the Hall of Fame, I got to go with no. Particularly with who they're going up against, I don't think FIFA should make it.
Right, because like, how did they change the face of how that game that type of game is played?
Yeah,
is it different from anything that it was doing before that?
Big boy glitch in chat just busting out with no, no supporting documentation, bolstering evidence, compelling arguments. Just no.
I like that. Yeah. If it hasn't done any of that, I would say no, it doesn't belong there.
Guitar Hero up next. I think this is a no-brainer. I think it has to go in.
Yes, that I agree with you. Definitely, I agree with you. It changed the face of how a lot of people interfaced with gaming.
Yeah, whether you were into music games or not, it changed peripherals. It changed. Yeah.
I vote no.
Ooh, why?
Really?
Because it just came and went so quickly. That and then Rock Band and all the other ones similar to it, they were just kind of a trend that was big for like 5 years, and they haven't really lasted.
So you think it's going to score a little lower on the longevity category that they score this stuff on?
Yeah.
See, I don't know. While it was flash in the pan, I don't think that flash is as short a period of time as people think it is. Like, looking back, you're like, oh, yeah, those were big for a year. I think those were big for 4, 5, 6 years, but they weren't big for 10, and they weren't big for 15 like some of these other titles we're talking about.
It also kind of revolutionized rhythm gaming for what it's become today.
You also can't overlook... Yeah, I was just about to say, Jason, you can't overlook, too, the way it changed accessibility. Not just
Right.
how you play a guitar game, but general accessibility. I think it got a lot of companies thinking about the way they do controller schemes and things like the way they build a peripheral outside of music. So Ninja Pandas is with you, Jason. I think this gets in. Yod thinks this gets in. Jason's gonna say no. So we'll come back and see. Here, how is this not in already? How is the Mattel football handheld in 1977? How is that?
That is a classic.
Yeah.
How is this not in the video game Hall of Fame yet?
I don't know.
I mean, you could look back and say that these types of things were the beginning stages of even getting a Game Boy out on the market, right? And this is...
Yeah.
This has to go in, Jason, 100%.
I wonder. I mean, we had a few of these kind of games when I was growing up. So, I mean, and this was obviously one of the bigger ones, obviously. So I don't know that. I don't know the exact history of whether this one was first or whether it was a real trendsetter or whatever like that. So, but yeah, the nostalgia part of me says, yeah, it's got to go in. But then the part of me that says, yeah, it's been around for 43 years and it hasn't gotten in yet. So why now? I don't know. That's got that kind of oomph to really get it through.
Yeah, come on, this has got to go, right?
I think, yeah. When I looked at that, I thought it should have been already there.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
Jason said, why now? But to me, it should have been in there already because it's where everything else sprouts from.
Yeah,
all this stuff sprouted from that type of game where you set it up, and it's a little handheld thing, like you said. It's the beginning of all that stuff. So why isn't it already there?
Ninja Pandas, I didn't forget about it. In fact, and I remember seeing it in Guardians of the Galaxy, the second game. You remember that in Guardians of the Galaxy when Star-Lord's using it to fire the missiles or whatever?
I still have one. Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is I'm a little torn on this one for mainly the same argument that I talked about on FIFA, that it's a flight sim, but it did do more of what Madden did than what FIFA does as far as iteration and detail and expanding the audience. And if I had to say like gut reaction though, yes, it absolutely I think should be nominated. I think on influence, Jason, it's going to score a little bit lower because there's not so much it could influence besides flight sim games.
Yeah, it's like Animal Crossing. It's probably only on this list because it had a recent installment that was really a big deal. So, yeah, I don't think it makes it.
Yod, you in the same boat?
I'm going to disagree with you guys on that one.
Ooh, all right.
Only because I have a friend that is really big into flying and flight sims because he is a pilot, works on airplanes and all that stuff, and that Microsoft flight sim was one of, and still is, I believe, one of the most accurate flight sims out there.
No doubt. Yeah.
I mean, the airports you can land in.
Yeah, we've played the most recent one on this stream and flew over my neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is so accurate, and that's where it springs from. So that did change that type of gaming.
All right.
So I have to say it should be on there.
I can get behind your argument. I don't know if I take it as far as you do, but I don't have any compelling counter argument against what you're saying. Pole position. Now, this one I think is more nostalgia for me, and for probably many of us. Like, you want to see pole position nominated, but I don't know if it gets in. It's kind of lumped for me, Jason, in that whole like era. There are 12 different games that I would, but Centipede got in last year, so maybe pole position finds a spot this year.
Yeah, the Centipede one kind of makes me wonder because whatever. But pole position at least was innovative in that it was like the first really like 3D or third person driving game.
Yeah,
like any driving game before that had been like a totally top down thing, like Spy Hunter or something like that. So it was pretty cool and innovative to have that and have like a little foot pedal that you use to move with. So,
Yod?
Yeah.
Your pole position days?
I mean, there is a bit of nostalgia there, but it did also do something for gaming where with the whole steering wheel and foot pedals and stuff. It was something different, which is also how I would see Centipede getting in there, because it had that little ball controller thing that
Right.
kind of spawned probably like my mouse here, which has the trackball on it.
Let's come a little more into the present, not the current present, but a little more than pole position and Mattel football handhelds, and talk Portal, the original Portal that released in 2007. Yad, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
I've heard so many Portal quotes and seen so many Portal cosplays.
It's hard to deny its pop culture references.
Yeah, it's influenced pop culture so freaking much that I say, yeah, it's in there.
Jason, you on the same boat? You seem a little skeptical.
It's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Meme. Portal had a lower or lesser shelf life even than Guitar Hero, and the fact that the games itself have not done anything. Like, when did Portal 2 come out? Like 2012 or something. So yeah, I think no. I just don't think it makes it.
I don't think it does either. I wouldn't mind seeing it in there because it was kind of innovative on the puzzle front when it came out. It was something a drastic departure from most puzzle games at the time. But to Jason, your point, longevity, we've had 2 titles. And to be honest, the first one was free, wasn't it? It
came with the orange box.
The orange box, yeah. It was free.
Yeah.
And it hasn't spawned imitators, honestly. Like, you don't see Portal-like games a lot out there. So
StarCraft, however, the next one I think is a shoo-in. StarCraft has to be in there. That was real-time strategy defining. That was system defining. That was narrative defining for that genre. And yes, when you think about the StarCraft era, you also have to look at the Age of Empires era, the Command and Conquer era. That was the golden age, right, of the real-time strategy. And I think it's just expansion into StarCraft 2, the global esports phenom that it has been for a long time, maybe a little lesser now, but was very big esports-wise for a long time. I think StarCraft has to be in there, Jason.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's basically the national sport of South Korea.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
I think it definitely scores high on the international quality, international impact version of things.
Yeah, where I don't.
Although again, are we talking StarCraft 1 or StarCraft? I guess 1 was a big thing.
Yeah, it looks like it's original.
Yeah, it's the original. Yeah. The one thing that I do think maybe it scores a little lower on, though, Yad, is the influence. It really didn't. While it iterated very in some neat ways, it was very RTS in the vein of the RTSs that came before it, and the RTSs that came after it were very similar. Like there isn't any huge innovation besides faster control schemes, better UIs, that type of stuff. So a little bit of innovation.
I can see that,
but
I can see that. I think it came along at the right time.
I agree.
Is what it did, because like networking computers and the ability to take computers from one person's house to another was kind of just starting up, and you had the little network switches that you could buy by that time, instead of the really expensive massive networks, boxes and stuff like that. So I mean, I remember going when I was in college that we also it's also the beginning of the era of like the all-in-one computers. I had the Ruby iMac, and we'd all get into a living room with our systems that were kind of portable, at least more portable than the tower and monitor setup, and hook it all together and play for hours on end. So there's a bit of nostalgia, a bit of it was there at the right time. It was a fun setup, and I think the characters were intriguing.
Yeah. I think
the characters hooked a lot of people.
This one I'm kind of torn on. We got 2 left. Tron. And we're talking about the arcade game, the 1982 arcade game. And the movie, it was partnered with the movie, and the movie came out 2 months later, or something like that, 2 or 3 months later. But I think a lot of people forget, I was too young to have appreciated it. I was 1 when this came out. So, I didn't play Tron in the arcade or anything. So
I did.
To me, looking at this initially, I'm like, why, if you were talking about a movie Hall of Fame, maybe. I mean, Tron, the movie, was groundbreaking on a number of presentational formats for its time. But the game, and then you look into the game, you're like, it made how much? 60 million?
Mhm.
The film did 33. Like,
Yep.
wow, that is huge. So I'm a little torn in that I personally would be like, yeah, no, the movie holds more relevance than the game to me. But somebody that's a little older than me maybe has a different perspective, Yod.
I do have a question for both of you, because I remember playing a Tron game on the Atari.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the same setup on the arcade or no?
I couldn't
Like the
tell
Atari
you.
2600?
Yeah, I think it was 2600.
Nothing was the same on the 2600 as it was in the arcade.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was the same setup, because that's what I remember.
Do you remember
playing,
Pac-Man?
and our my cousins and I could not figure, and my brother could not figure how to move the elevators for the longest time, because of course we didn't read the instruction manual.
No, why would you do that? That would make sense.
Yeah.
No. Yes, I played Tron in the arcade.
Did you really?
And it was cool. Yeah,
I mean, you're older than me, but not that much older
I was
than
8
me.
when this came out then, so yeah, I mean that was absolutely my heyday. And it was cool in the fact that it had like 4 different games you could play in it. It had the big like joystick, almost like a flight stick for some of them. You had a little spinner controller you'd use for something, and I think there might have been a button to the side too. So depending on what game you played, you use different controls to do different things. So that was pretty cool. Had a lot going on. But the fact that honestly I hadn't thought of this game for like at least 20 years probably until you saw it here. So I think it doesn't make it in.
I don't
Even
think
though
it
it was
does
cool for its time, it just hasn't lasted, hasn't really endured.
I don't know, with the way you're describing it, Jason, with all the different controls and stuff like that, and multiple games in one setup, I can see why it's there.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
it
could see
did-
that.
Yeah, it did innovate the way, even in arcade, much like with Centipede, it innovated how you interface with a video game.
I think you kind of lose a little here on the longevity piece as far as the scoring goes, because it's the movie that has the longevity score, not
You can definitely see
necessarily
that.
the game.
Here, let me link you a console here in chat. Look at an image there.
I'll take a
Or
look
the-
at it later.
The
'cause that's
cabinet
a-
rather.
Last
Yeah.
one. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I think that has to be there. Has to. That absolutely revolutionized edutainment games. Whether you were playing them at home, whether you were playing them at school, it had longevity. I mean, she's still around today. You talk to my kids, they know who Carmen Sandiego is. It had the pop culture. Obviously, we had the TV show, game show. We had the cartoon. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I mean,
It's a new cartoon.
it's just all there. I think absolutely Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego has to be in the Video Game Hall of Fame. Jason, you with me?
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you on all those points.
Yod?
I agree with you on all the points, but that also brings up the point: are we talking solely on the game then, or everything it spawned?
Well, what it spawned is part of the score, is part of the
Okay.
When they make the point in the 4 different categories, one of the categories of scoring is the influence. The game exerting a significant influence on the design and development of other games, on other forms of entertainment, or on pop culture and society in general. That's one of the 4 categories. So I think, shoe in at that point. Shoe in.
All right, then.
All right. So, chat, let us know in the comments below, either on ReadyCheckRadio.com or on YouTube, your thoughts on some of the nominees. You don't have to list all 12 and let us know. And who's going to get in and who's not going to get in. But you guys laughed at me when I said this last week. You guys laughed at me. So when I saw this article, I had to put it in here. And there's not a lot to talk about. But I said I could see Bethesda pulling a Fallout 4 with Starfield, where they announce it and basically like 3 or 4 months later it's released, and that it might happen this year. Like get an E3 announcement and like a November launch type deal. Or an Xbox show announcement, whatever. You guys laughed at me.
Mm-hmm.
You laughed at me. But coming from Jeff Grubb, a Venture Beat reporter who does have a bit of a track record with accurate leaks, they were on a gaming YouTube channel earlier this week. The Dealer claimed to know a few new details about Starfield and claimed exactly what I said. Grubb states that Bethesda is targeting a similar marketing cycle to that of Fallout 4. Back at E3 2015, Fallout 4 was officially unveiled to the world for the very first time, with Bethesda revealing that it would launch in just a few months' time later that year. Fallout 4 ended up launching in November 2015, giving the game less than 6 months from reveal to release. So it's not confirmed, but an accurate leaked information reporting persona does agree with me. Says it could be the case. Says it's looking like that will be the case. Jason, are you still just thinking I'm totally ridiculous for thinking they may go that route? Or is this enough to pull you to my side?
I think it's not ridiculous to think that's what they're planning. But I don't count on any game to launch when it's supposed to at this point.
Well, yeah, and Grubb does say the extenuating circumstance here, of course, would be COVID. You know, if there's any potential COVID.
No, that's not the excuse anymore. Everyone needs to stop using that as their excuse for why their games are late.
Yeah, I believe we talked about that last week as well.
Whatever.
But again, this is another one where I say, yeah, I mean, it was in development prior to COVID, so they did have changes. I look at it a little differently if there's something that's been running for years prior to COVID that all of a sudden has to change gears in the way they're doing things versus I'm starting a project in 2020. We're going to release in 2022. Oh, shit, COVID delayed us. No. So I look at that one, and we said that on the show. I look at that one a little differently than you two. But Starfield this year, Yod, yes or no?
I'm with Jason.
Can't sway you guys yet. All right, I'll keep bringing the evidence and see if I can ever get you. See if I can ever get you back with me.
When the game releases, I'll believe you.
Fair enough.
In December, if that game releases, I will believe you.
No, Glitch. They won't have another Fallout 76. No. Remember, Todd Howard said the Microsoft acquisition makes it much less likely they would ever have something like that again.
Huh, it'll never happen.
Yeah, never, ever. I'm looking forward to Starfield, but only in the vein of I would always look forward to like a sci-fi RPG, not because I'm like, I know dick about the game. Nobody does at this point. Oh, boy. Back in the game, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods back in the video game realm of golf games, but not with EA. Tiger Woods trading sides, signed a deal with the makers of the 2K Sports franchise. They're now in a long-term partnership with Woods, who will become an executive director for its PGA Tour game franchise. Of course, they're going to use his image and likeness, and basically they're going to use Woods for whatever the hell they want to use him for to help market their game. But hopefully he's doing well after his car accident, by the way.
I was about to say he's not doing motion capture right now.
Yeah, he's not doing mocap right now. Just rest and heal up. Kind of a surprising grab away. I mean, he hasn't done the EA one for years now after the whole stuff with, him and his wife at the time and all that fun stuff, and lost a lot of sponsorship deals. And then hasn't done much in video games. I'm kind of happy to see him back. Like, I love the PGA games. I love the two. Surprisingly, the most enjoyable, if it has to be realistic, the most enjoyable golf game I've played recently is the Golf Club series, Golf Club and Golf Club 2. Although I tend to favor, like, and I think you do too, Jason, like the Hot Shots Golf, the Everybody's Golf, the Mario Golf, those types of things. Which, by the way, I can't wait for the next Mario Golf still. Can't wait.
I know.
Happy to see Tiger back? Or doesn't matter to you? You don't care who's on the cover. You just buy the one you like.
Well, it's 2K, so they're going to have 80,000 microtransactions.
That is true. That is true. I don't buy 2K sports games. Not to say that I buy a ton of EAs either anymore, because other stuff. Fuck you, Respawn and EA. That still isn't fixed. So, yeah. Tiger's back. Tencent might be getting into the console business. Maybe.
Sort of.
Kind of. Partially.
Rumored.
Well, not rumored. They did get a patent, and we're showing some pictures of it now, for a handheld device.
just because you patent something doesn't mean you actually want to make it.
Yeah, that's
Like
absolutely
EA and their
true.
little gambling prediction
Yeah,
thing. Right?
absolutely true. Just because it's patented doesn't mean it's actually going to come out. But Tencent has obtained a patent for a PC video game console. So this is basically a handheld that's running Windows, right? And we have seen these before, so it's not necessarily even all that new tech-wise. We've seen these, the Win 3 is something you can go and mess with right now. These are coming from ZHugeX on Twitter, just giving some screenshots. Obviously, it may never come out, but I'm kind of curious, gentlemen, what you think about Tencent, who owns whatever, like 94% of all video games at this point. Not maybe 95. I don't know. I haven't run the numbers recently. But what about them getting into a potential hardware position, Jason?
I mean, they've been really aggressive with their mergers and acquisitions for the past year and a half.
they
So
have.
maybe this is their end game somehow. Maybe they're planning to have their own shop, for their own console with their own shop with all their new little friends inhabiting it.
Would you buy
New little
one?
friends.
Like none of us have like any of the Windows handhelds now, right? I never bought one. I'm like I just
No.
play on my desktop, and when I'll go play my DS or my Switch, if I'm going somewhere. I don't know if I'd buy it. Like it would have to. I think it's for me, Yod. It's trapped in the same situation as cloud gaming is right now, which Sony is now putting a lot more money into cloud gaming. I mean, we're seeing that move, but it's the only thing that's going to get me to those things are exclusive titles. It's what the Stadia needed to do for me to be on board with the Stadia, but obviously that didn't pan out. But Tencent, I mean, this is a company that
they do
war chest wise rivals Microsoft. So if anybody could get into this space, it would be them, right?
It would be, but I'd say they'd have to mod Windows further. It can't be just a Windows handheld. It's got to be like the Tencent OS or a custom proprietary setup of some kind for them to actually make it worth it. Because if it's just a Windows handheld, what's to keep you from getting any other Windows handheld and playing those exact same games?
Yeah. Because then you have the software.
Right. It's got to be their own software that locks it into their proprietary games running their setup, or else you can run it on any Windows machine.
Jason, I wouldn't think that this would be my... If I'm Tencent and I want to get in on the hardware business somewhere in gaming on the hardware side, I don't think this is swing number one for me. I find this to be a little bit of an odd first swing. And again, it is just a patent. They may never, ever actually make one of these, much less release them. So huge grains of salt on this to begin with. But I don't know if a Windows handheld system is my first foray into the hardware industry.
Probably not, but on the other hand, it's probably it might be a little cheaper and easier to R&D and to manufacture than like a totally new console, and to get other companies to get on board with it. Like if you have your own Tencent station or whatever, then people have to figure out how to program for that. Whereas this doesn't really require it if it just uses Windows. So maybe it's just their way of kind of dipping a toe into the water first to see what it's like.
Do we
see
these?
It's no O-Box.
Yeah, I was going to mention that earlier. The O-Box from Snail Games that never released. So make a call. Do we see one of these? Does this hit commercial retail shelves? I'm going to say no.
I'd say probably not.
I'm going to say no.
I give it like 30-70 odds or something like that.
Everybody goes
30,
no.
70,
Chat
28, like
big
that,
big boy glitch just thrown in another. Nope. Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't see it.
If you are looking for some things to do, though, please keep your eyes, if you have a PlayStation, on the PlayStation Store. You're about to get a bunch of free games, 10, in fact, including Horizon Zero Dawn, which will come a little later. But yeah, you can start claiming some free games. pretty soon, like a week or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, Horizon is
26th.
later, like in April.
Yeah,
at some
April
point.
is that one, but lots of nice VR stuff if you're into VR, lots of indie stuff. PlayStation and I love their stay at home or play at home initiative, giving a bunch of free stuff out here. I love the game Control. I love it. Love it. I hate what they did with the whole, PS5 version upgrade stuff. That's a totally different topic. We've spoken about that before. But I absolutely love the game, right? I platted the game. I feel like IGN this week just milked the shit out of one. Like, we do interviews, Jason and I, for MMOBomb.com. When we do an interview, we then post the interview. I feel like IGN did an interview here with Remedy, the developers of Control, and broke it into like 5 articles. Like the same interview. Like they broke it into 5 articles because they all got posted on the same day. But there were some neat little things here, not unique to Control, that I did want to talk about briefly here. One of the things that they point out was during this run-up to the next-gen console releases, they felt Sony was in the better position, was in the driver's seat going into things, but also thought that long-term, maybe Xbox was a little better positioned. They attributed this mainly to Sony pretty much sticking to their dev kits when they sent them out to developers. They didn't really make a ton of changes on that, so when you got the kits and the software, you were able to just kind of start rolling and not much changed from there. Where Xbox was maybe tinkering with their dev kits and supplies for a little while, making things harder, maybe having to restart certain things. But they also felt that some of those changes might, in the long term, make Xbox the better platform to be developing for. Kind of an interesting take, and not one, Jason, we normally see developers saying out loud. This is like normally the quiet stuff.
That was what I thought right off. It's like you're actually you're partnering with Microsoft and Sony, and you're going to talk smack about their consoles. And it's like, you really want to do that? I don't know. I wouldn't have said those sort of things if I was in this position. But I guess when you have an interview, I guess when IGN wants to have 5 interviews with you at once, then I guess you have to figure out what to say.
Right.
They did say, excuse me, it's no different from the previous generations where the system with the lowest specs does end up dictating a few of the things you're going to do because you're going to have to run on that system, which I think is something we kind of forget. That when we look at, is that game coming to PC and Xbox and PlayStation and Switch, that you're kind of like, well, if it comes to the Switch, that unnecessarily is going to limit the other versions of the game in certain ways, Yad, because it's got to run across, what we call the lowest common denominator around here. The more hardware you have, the more you have to ultimately compromise a little bit when you're a smaller studio like us, when you just can't spend as much time making sure all these platforms are super good. Again, I think kind of saying the quiet part out loud a little bit there, Jan. Hey, if you catch us, a small studio, making things for 3 or 4 places, just know we probably didn't get a chance to accurately test all of those.
Right. And with the lowest end setup probably being what? The Xbox S? Series S?
Well, I think Switch still grabs that, but if you're talking Switch, then you're talking
of the next gen setup.
Well, we're still in that awkward phase too, though, where you're seeing a lot of PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PlayStation 5, Xbox S and X, and the PlayStation 5 and Xbox S and X ones just have like increased frame rates or patches for a little bit of performance. Also, in an interview, a different interview on IGN with the Control developers, they talk about that like we haven't have our balls blown way off by the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox X yet, because we're still in that transition period where everything coming out right now was actually developed on last gen systems and is just being tweaked and upgraded right now for the new gen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a good thing that only small developers have these issues and not big games like Cyberpunk.
Not big games. Not big games.
No, that had no problem with its adaptation between consoles.
That our mandatory mention of Cyberpunk for sure?
Yep,
yes,
there it is.
There it is. Jason found a way. Life finds a way, so does Jason Winter. Best part of this
But,
entire
hey-
interview for me, and Yad, you're not going to like this,
Mhm.
was the final quote, because it's not from a question or, I mean, it's just a quote out there. It's just, and this is, by the way, Thomas Pua from Remedy.
Right.
The quote goes a little something like this. I don't envy folks making Halo Infinite. He was talking about quality assurance, especially being a huge problem right now, and it's more and more expensive to test games the more and more platforms you add to it, and he just sums it up with, I don't envy folks making Halo Infinite. And I think that's fair. I don't think there's a lot of companies that envy them right now.
At this point, are they even going to put out the game? Because, all
Right.
the extra merch that comes out with it, all the toys, the t-shirts, the tie-in cereals or whatever they have are all on the, discount for sale shelf. So by the time they actually get a game out, what kind of hype is there going to be?
I don't know, but this looks pretty badass. How about this one?
Yeah.
Dark Alliance.
Dark Alliance does look
Dungeons
pretty
and
badass.
Dragons Dark Alliance
Yeah.
from Wizards of the Coast. Looking pretty awesome. June 22nd, co-op RPG. Release date June 22nd. Up to there's 4 different characters from the Companions of the Hall. So you got Brunor Battlehammer, Wolfgar, Catti-brie, and of course Drizzt. Right, you have to. Like at this point, that's the de facto logo for personality for Dungeons and Dragons. But this looks so good. I love the older Dark Alliance games, so I'm looking forward to this one too. It's been a while since I've played a D&D RPG. I did not get, Baldur's Gate, the latest stuff there. I've been kind of just setting back, just watching that one develop a little bit before I get into it. But man, if you want something this looks fantastic. Some of this combat looks pretty sweet, Jason. Jason is unimpressed.
You're just the edgiest of the edgelords, aren't you?
Why? Wait, why? What did
It's dark. It's got Drizzt. There's Ozzy Osbourne. It's metal.
Yeah,
you're
obviously I'm
gonna
not
rip their
playing
heads
the
off,
music
yeah.
for this, but like,
Right.
yeah, the trailer is very metal. There's an Ozzy Osbourne song playing in this trailer.
I'm about 30 years too old for this game.
Really?
Wow.
Come on, look at that beholder. That looks awesome.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Zing, you got me. Yad, are you going to come with me on this? Because it's co-op and Jason's
Yeah,
not going to play it with me, apparently.
I like it. It looks good. I mean, it's been since like Neverwinter Nights 2 that I've played a D&D video game.
Yeah.
But this looks really good.
I think it does too.
This does look like a lot of fun.
I do. I played Dark Knight, don't I? No, actually, I hate Dark Knight in Final Fantasy XIV. I think it's the most boring tank. Go watch this past Thursday's Relic Ride. Okay. Couple things, Jason. I kind of put this in here for you and I don't think Yad's too much of a football guy. So Yad, you can sit this one out. Jason, I definitely put this. It's not video game related, guys. Forgive us, but I did think it was interesting because it does talk about streaming, and it is a sport, and it's games, I guess. The NFL has finalized the next 11 years worth of media rights. And surprisingly, most of the channels that carry the NFL games are going to carry the NFL games for the next 11 years. Except one little change. While the channels still have access to stuff, Thursday Night Football itself will now only be seen starting in 2023. So you still have one more season to go after the next season to go.
2 more.
No.
21 and 22, then 23.
Well, yeah. You're right. So 2 seasons. I forgot the whole August through February thing. So technically, yeah, 2 seasons. 2 seasons to go. But then Thursday Night Football, if you're a fan, better get that Amazon Prime, baby. Because you're only going to find Thursday Night Football streamed on Amazon Prime Video. While I like seeing football streamed, Jason, I'm not sure this is the play I would have liked to seeing the head coach call.
Oh wow! Listen to the metaphors there. Holy crap! I can remember back in like the mid '90s or so when like pay-per-view boxing events were starting to become a big deal. There was the fear that they're going to put the Super Bowl on pay-per-view. You have to pay $30 to watch it or whatever. And yeah, that didn't happen. And granted, Thursday Night Football is usually a crap game anyway, and nobody watches it.
Yeah, I mean it is the lowest rated.
This is not so bad.
The lowest rated
this is
across
the lowest hanging
the
fruit.
schedule.
But still, it does make me wonder a little bit how things could go in the future if it proves successful enough.
Yeah, because you do have the problem with blackouts now already. Like when you based on your cable provider, even in like if you have Dish Network, you can't get these games in this area, or you have Comcast, you can't get these games in this area. This kind of, well, hey, you can get the games, but you got to subscribe to Amazon Prime. It's a good thing that everybody in America subscribes to Amazon Prime anyway, I guess. So
that's actually an interesting question though, because like the MLB packages, even if you get the MLB in every game stuff, yeah, you get blackouts if you're within 600 miles or whatever of the home stadium or something, because they're just stupid. But so I don't know how that'll work.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch, and it'll be more interesting to see how well it does. Now, before we slide over to games of the week, just two little kind of announcements for you, just so you're watching them. We do have the Xbox Showcase. Now, it's going to focus mainly on indie titles, so we don't expect huge announcements. Again, focusing mainly on indie titles. That is going to be next week. That is the 26th at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. So next Friday. If there's anything decent in there on the indie front, of course, we'll bring it to this show. But wanted to make sure that you didn't forget that Xbox Showcase is next week. And also, for those of you like myself, we've talked about Scarlet Nexus on this show before many, many, many weeks ago. If you are looking for that JRPG from Bandai Namco, a release date was finally announced on that one. June 25th, 2021, you'll be able to play Scarlet Nexus, something that I'm sure I'll be streaming a little bit here on this channel. With that said, let's slide over.
I'm sure it's gonna be fine, but I just can't watch a show. Well, can't see a game with Scarlet entitled. I think it's
Scarlet Blade, of course, of course, of course. Let's slide over to the games of the week. Jason.
All right, so you're always complaining about me picking popular games like Overwatch or whatever, stuff that's so huge and so big. Well, my game of the week this week has, according to Steam charts, currently has 8 players, or I did an hour ago. 8 players going right now, but
Why are you recommending Marvel's Avengers? What has the audience done to you that you're about to recommend Marvel Avengers to them?
Oh my god.
I'm recommending Learn Japanese to Survive. The first game of the series, Hiragana Battle, which I'm learning. I'm learning my Japanese. I'm actually pretty good now. Like even after just like 3 days, I've gotten like over half of them. I've pretty well got them memorized. Can usually identify them on sight. It's like a little RPG. It's a very simple like RPG Maker RPG. You have to go and you have to identify the hiragana, and you have to use the right letters to attack them with, or you don't do damage.
All right.
And there's a little bit of a story there, and while pretty simple, but still really cool, really fun. And even in just like 3 days, I've already learned it quite a lot. So.
See, now I'm probably going to lose this week because I actually want to play what you're talking about here now. So I'm like,
they have 2 more.
I'm gonna check this out.
They have one for katakana and one for kanji, which I also have.
I mean, I have my you can't see it anymore because I rearranged the
Rosetta Stone.
I do have my Rosetta Stone Japanese. Hey, do you speak any Asian languages actually?
I am conversational in Cantonese.
Oh, all right.
Because I was actually brought up speaking dual languages.
Are you and maybe this is too personal if it is, are you first gen American?
I am first gen.
Oh,
I am first gen.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. So yeah, you grew up in the household with the parents and grandparents that were like, you're going to fucking learn both, buddy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You're going to learn both.
I mean, granted, my grandparents spoke a different Chinese than my parents were teaching me. And so they had, I mean, they spoke Cantonese as well, but they also had a very heavy Mandarin accent to it.
Oh,
so
nice.
It was really weird.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you got for us on the recommation front?
So this
with your pixelated camera shot. Oh,
yes,
no, it cleared up.
Camera.
Oh, now it's pixelated.
Too bad. But because we had the handheld football Hall of Fame and we talked about, football scheduling, I am going to say classic Tecmo Bowl from the NES.
Damn it. Both of you just come out swinging today.
Tecmo Bowl was cool for its time, but Tecmo Super Bowl was just much better. It really was.
See, I thought about Tecmo Super Bowl, but I had a much better time playing regular Tecmo Bowl, beating my brother
Oh,
at the
sure.
game. So
you just run that one Jerry Rice route nobody can defend, and yeah.
no.
No,
I
it's Bo
played
Jackson.
Chicago Bears.
You just
Oh,
Bo
Bears.
Jackson.
Oh, yeah, Bo Jackson. Sure.
Yeah.
I played the Chicago Bears every time.
Yeah, you just get on Tecmo Bowl and go Bo Jackson all day. All day. Great Family
Walter
Guy
Payton wasn't
clip.
bad though, so they're
Great Family
at
Guy
him.
clip on that one. All right. I'm gonna. I thought I was like gonna go popular this week. I'm gonna go with Rocket League. I am still two seasons in. Like we still have a little more. They extended season 2 till the 7th of April, but I did not expect that game to hook me the way it has. It is 2 seasons in, and I am still putting hours into that game every single week, and not just on stream for like MMO Bomb or for Ready Check. Absolutely love it. Highly recommend you check it out. The wife just started playing yesterday. And it's fun watching somebody new play it going, shit, there was a time when I was that bad. Like, I'm not good now, but I am definitely better than I was when I started. So it is a game where you will feel your progress. So enjoy it. Those are our 3 recommendations for the week. Let us know in the comments which one you think is the best recommendation for the week. And we'll see who wins next time. Until then, Yad, where can everybody find you?
Yad Artworks on Twitter, Yad Artworks on Facebook, and right here on Gaming Gumbo.
Mr. Winter.
Find me on Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/Jason Winter. But there's no S at the end of my name.
Chat, stay tuned after the show here. We're going to go dark for about 30 seconds or so, as is normal. Then we're going to bring up our streamer for this evening. Mr. Torchwick, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Who won? Which one of our games won?
I can't say, because if I don't agree with you, I'm going to get beat up.
You're grounded.
Wow.
You're grounded.
Wow.
You're now
geez.
grounded.
And then they'll get beat up.
Already grounded, then there's no reason not to say that Jason won.
All right. Well, there you go.
All right.
Jason, you
Good,
got
good,
the
good.
first
There we go.
vote in. Torchwick, what are you
All right.
streaming tonight on games older than me?
We're playing some classic Fallout.
Still haven't beaten it yet, huh?
No. It's a very long game. Cut me some slack, okay? I don't know what I'm doing half the time, which makes it even longer of a game. Like,
The last stream, my favorite quote while I was watching was, I seem to have underestimated that cockroach.
it killed dog meat. It killed dog meat.
You lost Ian. You lost your dog. Last week
Lost
was
Ian?
Yeah, Ian died last week.
Oh.
Yeah, Ian died last week. Whole Milk tweeted with a picture that was like gone but never forgotten. Rip Ian.
Brilliant. It's a brilliant memorial. It's what he would have wanted.
It is what he would have wanted. Chat, stay tuned for that after the show. Hope you enjoyed today's show. My name's Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there on Twitter, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio, RAIDEO, and come hang out with us for all the streams and shows. Stay safe. See you on the servers.